we've got a good amount of material to cover to talk about a little bit about what was up last week and what's going on this week, and then what's going on in the weeks to come. So let's go ahead and get started with sharing the screen here, and I'll start talking about what was up last week. Let me go find the right buttons to push here. Sweet. There we go. I think we are good to go. All righty. So if we take a look over here on the left panel, we're going to have a bit of an agenda of what we're going to chat about here today on the left side. And then I'll be sharing my screen and scrolling through kind of what's going on and what I'm seeing. And so we can have some visuals to look at here. So first of all, shout out, like I said, to CSCMP for being one of the sponsors that helped make this calendar of events possible. Let's take a quick look at what was going on last week. And speaking of CSCMP, last week, a week ago, was the second annual CSCMP DFW pickleball tournament. And I was so thrilled that Bart DeMonk invited me and asked me to be on his team because we took home the trophy, the first place for the advanced bracket. And so you can kind of see some of the shots here behind the scenes from the event. And big shout out to YMX for being one of the sponsors, the title sponsors for the event, and a handful of other sponsors as well. So was pretty cool. As you can see, like kind of the highlights here. I was wearing my Ray-Ban Meta glasses, so I was able to kind of get some behind the scenes footage here, which you will be able to go check out and see on the Supply Chain Instagram page. The day after the actual tournament was YMX was still in town, so they hosted a bit of a happy hour at the ranch in Las Colinas. Got to have some delicious onion rings that on these onions that are picked at the peak of freshness, apparently, and so like the best onion rings in DFW are at the ranch, apparently. So got to hang out with the YMX team and see a little bit of else. Other people, that was Kyle Hightower. You saw the picture with there. Turns out he and I went to school together and had classes together at UNT, and we hadn't seen each other since we were both in school. It's crazy. The other thing that happened last week was warehousing after dark took place. Woo, warehousing after dark took place in Toronto. It was the first international, if we want to say international edition of the Warehousing After Dark show. This was part of a partnership with the International Warehousing and Logistics Association that Kevin and I just so happened to also be there in Toronto to participate in. So the day before the big forum kicked off, we invited and hosted a good number of folks that were in town for the forum or that were just Torontonians, local. And so the weather was perfect. The venue was pretty cool. I think we had about 70 folks probably stop by, and a great showing from across the spectrum of logistics and supply chain. But of course, we really were mostly there for warehousing. So that was last week. That was on Wednesday. And then on Thursday and Friday, the IWLA Fulfillment Forum itself was taking place. This was one of the first times for me to be really involved and be a keynote speaker and be really part of an IWLA event, which I just learned about a year ago when they were here in DFW and they hosted a happy hour in Fort Worth. So Kevin was keynote speaker on day one, also Mike DeFabis and Aaron Alpeter and a whole bunch of other folks that were speakers. And as you can see, it was like this bee honey hive theme, which was kind of fun. On the night after the first day, we all went out on a boat tour out on Lake Ontario, sunset with the skyline views of Toronto and whatnot. So really pretty awesome conference. Some really good presentations. Kara Smith Brown also gave a presentation on marketing and knocked it out of the park as she always does. So that was a little bit of what was going on last week. So let's take a quick look at the events here on the Supply Chainy events calendar page just to see what's kind of going on this week. Again, this is not a fully comprehensive list. If there's events that you've got, you're attending or that you're hosting or putting on, feel free to kick me a message and we'll make sure to get your event on here as well. But what we've got going on right now is eTail Boston is going on these first few days of the week. Um, Also, here locally on Tuesdays, the CSCMP Roundtable is partnering with RGP and CSCMP to host a roundtable talking about supply chains and disruption. And we've got RGP, we've got uh, let's see, this is Alcon and Texas Instruments. And this, I'm just going to pull up the graphic so I can read where the second panel is here is from. This would be Phil from Vistra. There you go. So we got Vistra, Alcon, and TI all chatting with Jessica Harris there from RGP. So that's taking place on Tuesday. I think there might still be some spots open. Also on Tuesday in Cleveland, they are hosting a happy hour with the CSCMP roundtable there. On Wednesday, there is a hybrid event taking place with some App State professors, Spark 360, and Knitwell, and we're just talking about innovation and strategy in 2025. That's going to be in person in Columbus, Ohio, or online. On the 13th, on Wednesday as well, there's a procurement happy hour going on in Houston. And I think my friend Jose Bustillo has something to do with this as well. So check that out. Also on the 13th is a Warehousing After Dark virtual edition for all those that couldn't attend and join in Toronto last week. This will be online, our usual monthly virtual networking event. On Thursday, the 14th, CSCMP Great Lakes is hosting their annual golf fundraiser. Also on the 14th is the first annual Supply Chain and Logistics Revenue Summit. And I see a couple of logos in here that I recognize, specifically TMSA and Lead Coverage being part of that event. And then also on Thursday, the North Texas ASEM chapter is hosting a happy hour. Um, Moving on to Friday, wrapping up the week here, the University of North Texas is hosting their annual awards and scholarship breakfast on Friday morning up in Denton, and I will be participating in that. So that's kind of what's coming up this week. If you want to see what's going on in this week, next week, and whatnot, feel free to come visit the events calendar. Check out the month view where you can see at a glance what's going on each month. We're starting to pick up the pace. We kind of slow down in summer, but as you can kind of see, if we're looking at September, we start picking up in the middle to end of September, and then October we really get into a traffic jam. As you'll take a look here, we really start getting really busy in October with lots of supply chain events to choose from. So where am I going to be? Which of these events am I going to be at here in the near future? So the next event I'll be at is the Panama Supply Chain Forum. 22 days away from now, I'll be hanging out there with Sophia from Supply Chain Now in Espanol. Also, a little bit into the future is Change North America. That's taking place in Columbus on September 9th to 10th. CSCMP Edge Conference is taking place October 5th to 8th, and this is going to be out there near Washington, D.C. at the Gaylord. Also, about a week after that, I'll be heading out to SoCal to be the MC for the 9th Annual Technology and Supply Chain Summit going on there at the University of California, Long Beach. And then lastly, here, at least on this agenda, there's going to definitely be more get added here, is the 24th Annual Work Conference going on here locally in DFW. This is kind of the go-to. It's kind of like the mini ProMat or Modex here for DFW specifically. And I'll be there kind of doing my thing as usual. So just a quick shout out to Sergere. Whenever I go to conferences, I turn on my little tracking beacon and folks are able to track where I am at a conference in case you want to meet up. And also just kind of check out what Sergere does with creating supply chain visibility for their clients and partners. So I think that just about wraps it up. If you've got an event that you want to promote, or if you are a speaker or a keynote speaker, you want to just come on and talk about an event that's coming up, would love to host you, have some guests, that come on and share about events. And again, it's this whole space here is just designed to increase visibility and make sure that everyone out there who wants to be involved in networking and learning through in-person or virtual events in the space has an opportunity and a resource to go find where those are at. So if I can ever be of any service in that regard, please let me know. I love chatting supply chain. um, I'll take any pretty much offers to have a quick chat and see what we can do, what I can do to help you out. So until next week, be safe and have fun out there.